I'm going to show you how to make templates for the line drawstring bag pattern. This will work for any of the included sizes, the custom sizing, as well as the free tutorial size. So today we're going to make templates for the everything size, which is the same as the tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to keep our supplies really simple because I'm assuming most people who are going to make these templates aren't comfortable with a rotary cutter or don't want to use one. So we're not going to use a rotary cutter or any of the accessories like that to make these templates. So I've just got a sheet of inexpensive poster board. I've got a long ruler, a pen or pencil, and a pair of paper scissors. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to cut 3 templates for the everything bag. So we're going to cut a template for the interior, the exterior accent, and the exterior main. So one thing about this pattern, all of the pieces are rectangular, so they're nice and easy to cut templates for. And they're also all the same width. So one dimension on all of them is the same. For the everything bag, that's 10.5 inches. So I'm going to start by cutting a 10.5 inch wide strip from this poster board that goes all the way the whole height of the poster board. I'm going to start from this corner because I want to take advantage of the nice square edge that's already here. So I'm going to start by measuring over with my ruler 10.5 inches, and I'm going to make a tick. And then I'm actually going to go do the same thing from the top edge, 10.5 inches. And now I'm going to connect those marks. And if your ruler isn't long enough, you can always kind of do one from the center or do a few, just so that you have a few different marks to make sure you get it nice and straight and square with the other edge. Okay, so I'm lining up. I've got both marks against the ruler, and I'm going to connect those. Okay, so now I've got a 10.5 inch wide strip. I can go ahead and cut that out with scissors. If you do have a rotary cutter that you are comfortable using, feel free. I usually designate one as paper, and so I'll use that to cut paper with my just regular, acrylic ruler and cutting mat. But that way I'm not ruining my rotary blade that I use for cutting fabric. So I'm just cutting right along that line. You could also use an X-Acto blade. But like I said, I wanted to keep it nice and simple. Okay. I'm trying to be as careful as I can because obviously this template, the more accurate it is, the better for our bags. So, okay, so I'm going to set this extra aside. We are going to still need it. Okay, so now we have a sheet, or we have a strip of the poster board that's 10.5 inches wide by the width of our poster. I think this one was like 22 inches. So let's go ahead and measure our first piece. I'm going to do the exterior main first. So like I said, I've got my 10.5 inches this way, and the exterior main is going to be 9 by 10.5 inches. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing I did the first time. I'm going to mark along this edge 9 inches from the bottom, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, 9 inches. And then I'm just going to use my ruler to connect those marks. Sorry, my hand's probably in the way there. Okay, there we go. Now I can just cut along that line. And before we move on and cut more pieces, I'm going to go ahead and mark what this is so we don't forget that this is in fact the exterior main. Okay, so this is a line drawstring bag. This is the exterior main. And you're going to need 2 of these to make a bag, cut 2. One thing I like to do with these templates is also mark the direction. And so in the cutting instructions, what you're always going to see, every measurement is listed in there as height by width. And so we know where width was 10.5 and our height was 9 inches. So that means that this is going to be the way we want our direction, our fabric direction to go. So that's going to be the top edge of our bag. So any, you know, fabric print that we're lining this up on, we want to make sure that the direction of the print is lined up with these arrows. Okay, so we have one piece done. Awesome. Okay, now let's see if we can get, let's see what we can get from this. We need a 12.5-inch piece for our lining. Yeah, we can get that out of here. Okay, so I'm gonna measure, this is the same thing. I'm gonna measure up 12.5 inches from the one edge. Then I'm gonna do the same on this side. And if it's not, you know, this is maybe not quite as accurate as cutting with rotary cutters and rulers, etc. But these bags are really forgiving. If it's a little bit off, it's not going to be the end of the world. So we're just not going to stress too much about it. Okay. Now then I'm going to cut on that line. Okay. So again, I'm going to mark it. So we had, this was 10.5 inches wide. This is 12.5 inches tall. This is a long drawstring bag. This is the interior. And I need 2. And I just realized I forgot on the other one, I like to also mark the size. So this is the everything size. And I'll go back and do that over here too. Now you can mark the direction for the lining if you want. The pattern is not written to accommodate directional fabrics for the lining, but if you'd like to go ahead and add your arrows, you certainly can. Again, this is going to be kind of the top edge of your lining, and this is the width. So if you were going to do arrows, you'd do them the same as the other. Okay. So now we need to cut one more piece. We need to cut a 4-inch by 10.5-inch strip. So I'm going to start by cutting a 4-inch strip across the width or length of this. Okay, so again, I'm going to start the same. I'm going to mark 4 inches over. And I'm just going to do it the whole width of this because I think it's easier. But feel free to utilize your poster board however you want. Or honestly, maybe I won't cut it out, I'll just mark the line. That's probably what I'm going to do. Okay. That way I just know it's going to be nice and straight. Okay, so now I've got 4 inches. And like I said, let's go ahead and measure the exact piece we need, and we'll just cut that out rather than cutting this whole strip. So I need now a 10.5 inch in this direction. So again, I'm going to use the ruler, line it up against the edge, 10.5. And I'm going to do the same on this line, 10.5, and I'm going to connect those. Okay. And now we can just cut it out. Okay, so again, let's label it. This was the line drawstring bag, everything. And this is the exterior accent. And we need to cut 2. Let's mark our measurements. This was 10.5 inches wide and 4 inches tall. And again, this is going to be the top edge of our bag because we've got height and width. So I'm going to put my arrows for my directional fabrics. And there we go. We have a whole set of templates all ready to use. A quick note on how to figure out what size templates you need to cut for your bag. So this is the cutting page from the line drawstring bag pattern, and we're looking at the everything bag cutting instructions. So on the second line of each cutting instruction, you're going to see I highlighted the size of the piece that you're going to need. So they're all listed as height by width, and you'll see all the widths are the same at 10.5 inches. So that is how you're going to figure out like I said, what size templates to make for the bag size you're making. Now that we have our templates made, let me show you a couple different ways I would use these. So first, if you are comfortable using a rotary cutter and you just want to efficiently cut a ton of bags, one way you could use it is with a rotary cutter. Lay down your fabric. So I'm going to cut my exterior main pieces out of this fabric. And I would just lay this template right on top of fabric. And by the way, I've got my directional. Here, let me do this one. I've got my directional print. Okay, I want this to be towards the top of the bag, so I'm going to make sure my arrows are pointing in the same direction, towards the top. So I would just stick that on top of my fabric wherever I want it. Oops. And then just stick my ruler carefully right on top of the template, and I could just cut around those and then do the same for the other two sides. Really a great way to speed things up if you're trying to cut a ton of bags the same size. Like if you were making a tiny bag advent calendar, or why do I keep doing this upside down? Or yeah, any amount of like assembly line, it definitely would help speed it up. But I want to show you how I would cut with just scissors. So actually, I am going to go on the back. It's a little easier to see pencil marks from the back. So I'm going to line up my template where I want it. And then I'm just going to take a pencil and I am going to mark a line just all the way on all four sides. So you could take advantage of like some pattern weights or something heavy here, or you can just hold it down with your hand carefully. Just make sure it doesn't move around on you while you're tracing. And make sure your pencil's nice and sharp. Mine's a little bit dull, so I'm not sure. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. You can kind of see it. But anyways, now I'm just going to come around. Seriously, where is my pencil line? Like I said, use a nice sharp pencil or a disappearing ink marker. Or some chalk. There we go, that's a little better. And now I'm just going to cut on my lines. Easy peasy. The nice thing about this is you don't even have to square up your fabric first, because you're just going to cut around all four sides anyways, so it eliminates the step. Which, especially if you're not using a rotary cutter, I would imagine that would be kind of difficult to square up an edge. So this works nicely. Like I said, I mean, this is a little bit less precise, I think, than using a rotary cutter, but the nice thing is these bags are really forgiving, and it's really not going to matter in the final bag. Okay, there we go. We've got a piece cut out. So now I would just do the same thing to cut another one, and same with my interior and my accent pieces. So yeah, super simple. The other thing you could do, you could use cardboard, you could use template plastic if you wanted something that was a little bit more durable, but honestly, these are gonna hold up pretty well unless you're making like hundreds of bags. And at that point, you may well be, using a rotary cutter. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful, and have fun making your bags.